Good afternoon, I'm Herman Green with the Midday News. A special welcome to those of you watching on onespotmedia.com. The Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica, PCJ, has revealed that it is actively seeking overseas investors to tap into the discovery of two independent live oil seeps in different sections of Trelawney. TVJ's O'Shane Masters has the details.
Speaking on TVJ's Smile Jamaica Wednesday morning, PCJ Oil and Gas Manager Brian Richardson described the oil discovery as exciting, noting that the PCJ will be ensuring that the right decisions are made. He said the company is trying to promote the discovery to encourage interested investors to drill further.
What we want to do now is hopefully this will interest an explorer, someone like say a Tullow or an onshore person that would want to take this a little bit further. They would then come in, do some additional work, seismic, do some additional field work, and then hopefully if they're interested enough and they see something like a structure that may contain something, then they say, okay, fine, we'll be willing to drill.
A joint statement on the discovery was issued last week Tuesday by international firm CGG Geoconsulting and the PCJ. The oil seeps were found during field work by CGG Geoconsulting and the PCJ for a recently completed multi-client study of the petroleum potential of on and offshore Jamaica. Despite the potential, Mr. Richardson said it's not feasible in the near future for the Jamaican government to independently drill for oil onshore or offshore the island. He explains that the venture is not only risky, but demands huge resources. Mr. Richardson adds that while the government has to depend on overseas investors, oil discovered in Jamaica's jurisdiction would belong to the state.
What we do is to allow an explorer to come into the countries, like Tullow, to then use their resources and explore. Because it's a risk game. It's like 1 in 10 wells that are drilled are successful. So 1 in 10.
Okay.
Right. So if you're looking from that point of view, I don't think the government has the funds to spend on 10 wells to hope that one is successful.
Yes.
So what we've done is partner with persons who have the expertise, they have the cash to care, and let them come into the country, let them explore, and it's at their risk.
Yep.
So they do all that, they spend their money, they look, and if there is something, then that is actually developed jointly with the government.
He stressed that the venture is long-term.
Police in St. Anne are investigating the murder of a Chinese businessman in the parish yesterday. He has been identified as 28-year-old Teng Fei Cheng. According to reports, the businessman was shot and killed in Brownstown about 3:20 in the afternoon at a warehouse. It's understood that he was collecting goods when a man walked up and shot him in the head. He died at the St. Anne's Bay Hospital. And a manhunt is now on for a man who viciously set his ex-girlfriend on fire in Malvern, St. Elizabeth, leaving her in hospital with serious burns over 98% of her body. Reports indicate that the 32-year-old bartender was at work around 9 o'clock Monday evening when her former boyfriend entered the bar. It's understood that the man poured a fluid believed to be gasoline on the victim before setting her on fire. He then fled the scene. The woman was rushed to hospital and is undergoing treatment. TVJ News understands that the suspect has been reporting to the Malvern police station on condition of bail in relation to another incident. The cops say he is now on the run. Social anthropologist Dr. Herbert Gale is blaming the political authorities for Jamaica's current crime problems. Dr. Gale argues that the root cause of crime and violence have not been addressed since 1962 when the country gained independence.
And I think if you're doing something wrong from 1962, and in fact I have the murder data to 1960, all the way back. And what you look and you see is the higher the murder rate goes, the lower the clear-up rate goes, because they have a direct relationship. In fact, we know we can show the point at which the police becomes ineffective. This has nothing to do with the police.
He noted that this comes with successive governments only trying to treat the symptoms and not the root cause of the problem.
A, states of emergency. B, increasing police presence driving around communities with flashing lights. Nothing is wrong with these policies, but they can't work on their own. Please understand what I'm saying. Net fishing, scraping up all the young men possible and very slowly processing them.
Dr. Gale argues that if Jamaica is to reduce and effectively manage its current crime level, 4 key areas need to be addressed. These include the Parliament and the judiciary.
There's a chap at the top of the turning on a sewage pipe, which is the top of the judiciary, which is the top of the central political authority, allowing all kinds of stuff to run into the streets. And then the third block is at the bottom with a map. And then we have mop-up groups like the PMI, CSJP, all of these groups. They're called mop-up groups. They're literally walking around with social maps, trying to see if they can mop up stuff that were already turned off. And I've often said to countries, simply get up and go turn the sewage pipe off. Come together and hold your parliament responsible.
Dr. Gale was sharing a preliminary report he did on at-risk communities. TVJ News has been informed that 160 prisoners have been relocated from the Tower Street Adult Correctional Center following the recent discovery of an escape plot. Correctional staff has also been increased at the facility. Concern has mounted about the dilapidated state of the Tower Street Adult Correctional Center after tunnels were found at the compound on February 16. In the meantime, the Jamaica Federation of Corrections is hoping that its letter sent to the National Security Minister on Monday, arguing the need for the construction of a new prison, will result in action being taken. A copy of the letter was also delivered to the office of the Prime Minister. The Federation has been lobbying for a new maximum security facility since the UK government presented such an offer in 2015 with the condition that 300 Jamaican prisoners in Britain jails be transferred to the island to complete their sentences. The offer was rejected by the government. The RGR Gleaner Communications Group will today release the findings of a new Don Anderson poll which tests public opinion on key national issues. The first result will be released this evening in primetime news, where we'll be looking at the zones of special operations. The poll results will be released across the RGR Gleaner Communications Group electronic platforms preliminarily through RGR 94 FM, Television Jamaica, and RGR News Online. The recent poll was commissioned by the RGR Gleaner Communications Group to gauge the views of the public for the first time since the new administration was elected to office 2 years ago. The latest Don Anderson poll canvassed public opinion on a number of issues, including the performance of the economy, the performance of the government and the opposition, the introduction of zones of special operations to fight crime, and declaration of the state of emergency in St. James, among other important national issues. Public opinion was also solicited on the appointment of a Chief Justice in an acting position 28 days ago. Normalcy has been restored in Chapman, southeast St. Elizabeth, after residents blocked the main road this morning to stage a protest. In an effort to make their concerns known, the residents blocked the main road between Nain and Junction. They were angry and vented their frustration about the accident which claimed the life of 52-year-old Keith Brooks and left his son injured on Saturday in the area. Mr. Brooks and his son were walking towards Junction when they were reportedly hit by a motor vehicle. They were rushed to hospital when Mr. Brooks was pronounced dead and the son was treated and released. However, the residents believe the police are reluctant in doing their job as the driver of the vehicle has not yet been charged. The crash is the first recorded road fatality in St. Elizabeth since the start of this year. Concerns continue to be raised about the breaches of human rights under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR.
For everywhere, rights and freedoms are still being challenged.
Head of the delegation of the European Union to Jamaica, Ambassador Malgorzata Wasiluska, pointed out that even though there has been some improvements in human rights, there is still some way to go. Speaking at the handing over ceremony of a bus for E for Life yesterday, she noted that the rate of abuse of the nation's children and women is alarming.
Discriminatory practices and negative gender norms also impede progress towards gender equality and economic growth.
Meanwhile, the EU ambassador praised the directors of E for Life for the job they have been doing with young women who have been abused, but noted that more needs to be done to protect the country's children when it comes to sexual abuse.
the European Union recognizes that all children are vulnerable to abuse. However, this particular project focuses on the girl child, and this is in recognition of the fact that the Office of the Children's Registry reports that girls are up to 12 times more likely to be victims of sexual abuse than boys.
The Tivoli Gardens High School is in good spirits as the 49-year-old institution is one of the beneficiaries of the Digicel Foundation. On Monday, students and staff joined in the celebration of a project that was launched by the foundation to improve and spur growth in schools. The foundation has done several repairs and improvements which were needed, as well as invested in a greenhouse project. Speaking at the plaque unveiling ceremony, founder and chairman of Digicel, Dennis O'Brien, urged students to take advantage of every opportunity they get.
Whatever shortcomings you think you have, whatever struggles you have with certain subjects, don't let them be a blocker. You're talented definitely at something else. Everybody has talents, and it is a matter of finding them and putting them to work. If you have challenges, embrace them through them, but don't let them defeat you, because you're better than that.
Mr. O'Brien said the project is integral to the overall objective of cultivating an environment conducive to learning. With the improvement, students and teachers should now have a sense of pride in their surroundings. Olympic and world sprint champion Usain Bolt, who was also present, offered some words of encouragement.
If you want to be great, you can't just sit down and not do anything. You have to work and push yourself. It never comes easy. Growing up in Chorani, I'm from the country. I never thought I would be the world's fastest man. No one in my family, my friends, anyone around thought I would be the fastest man when I started track and field. But with the effort and the talent that I had, I worked at it and I pushed myself and now I am the fastest man in the world. So what I'm saying is that you always work for what you want. Never give up, because you never know where it might take you.
In an effort to show their appreciation, a painting of the school was presented to Mr. O'Brien. And it's time now for a look at what's coming up in this evening's Health Report.
In the next edition of the Health Report, we look at wounds.
You don't want to sit at home and be caring for this wound, and then you might end up with an infection. Because if you're caring for a wound at home and you're not using the correct procedures, or you're not caring for it properly, you can actually end up with an infection.
That's the Health Report this evening in Primetime News. And now for today's Healthy Living tip. Use direct pressure and elevation to control bleeding and swelling. When wrapping the wound, always use a sterile dressing or bandage. And you need to keep the wound clean and dry for 5 days.
And we go down to sports. St. Jago High's former sprinter Kimon Shaw is aiming for a major comeback at Boys and Girls Champs 2018 following a disappointing 2017 season. But the St. Jago coaching staff is guarding against the high expectations for the young sprinter.
Kimon Shaw has gold medals to show from classes 4, 3 and 2 at the ISA Boys and Girls Championships. They include the 100 meters, 200 meters and the sprint relays. But her last victory at Champs came in 2016 when she won the Class 2 girls 100 meters in what still remains her personal best and meet record 11.40 seconds. Her form dipped last year and she failed to defend her Class 2 100-meter title after being beaten into third place. However, with a season's best of 11.85 seconds for the 100 meters already this season, Shaw is aiming to recapture her best form at Champs this year, even as she enters her first year of Class 1.
My main aim is to win the 100 meters and get a medal in the 200 meters.
And it's not just Champs that Shaw has among her targets this year, as the 18-year-old is aiming to qualify for the World Junior Championships later this year.
My personal best in the 100 meters is 11.40, which I am aiming to go below it, if not at Champs, but for the World Juniors Games. My 200 meters personal best is 23.86, which I plan to go lower than in Champs. So I'm just working towards those goals.
But even with high expectations for Shaw to carry San Diego this year, coach Kilando Goburn is guarding against overzealous expectations of the promising sprinter for champs.
We are going to send the best candidates out there to represent the school. I won't pinpoint any one person. I mean, each St. Diego athlete is expected to go out there and give 150% and make the St. Diego family and the community proud.
The ISA Boys and Girls Athletics Championships will be held from March 20 to 24 at the National Stadium. Jermaine Brown reporting for TVJ Sports.
And that's the midday news. I'm Herman Green. Join us at 7 for the prime time news package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.